Hey y'all, Mr. Rivers here. I'm going to go through some of the study guide problems to kind of help you along in your process as you get ready for the test tomorrow. I'm not going to work every problem, but I'll work a number of the problems here. Start out with number 6. This was a common problem that people had a hard time with. So we got the absolute value of 9 minus 17. So I'm going to start by using an absolute value sign. 9 minus 17, which number is further from 0? 17 is. So that sign's going to dominate. So we know it's going to be negative. 9 minus 17. How far is 9 from 17? They're 8 away. So we get negative 8. Now you could also use a number line here if you're having a hard time with this. So a number line. Okay. We're going to start at 9. We're subtracting 17. Remember, this is the negative direction. This is the positive direction. So we're going to move to the left or to the right. We're going to move to the left. All right. And we have to move to the left how far? 17. So you would just count, right? So put in a bunch of tick marks here. I'm not actually going to do it, but you would put, I would need 17 tick marks because I'm going to the left. The total is 17, and you would just count 17 to the left. And when you count 17 to the left, you should end up at negative 8. Okay, so now the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. So on your test, we need you to see you subtract 9 minus 17, which will leave you with negative 8. And I would need to see you have the absolute value sign here and then take the absolute value. So you would have to have both steps here to get full credit. So this would be like a 1 point here and a 1 point here. Let me mention one more thing I did not mention a second ago. 9 minus 17, I can rewrite that as 9 plus what? 9 plus negative 17. Okay? And then again, you get the absolute value of negative 8. Okay? Very good. Let's move on to the second section down here. We had a lot of questions about 8 in class. I did explain it, but I'll explain it again here. Negative E multiplied by F multiplied by G. So that negative stays out front. I then substitute in E. What is E? Well, E is up here. E is negative 2 multiplied by F. Well, F is up here as well, negative 6. Multiplied by G. G is up here as well, negative 8. Excuse that, it's kind of messy. All right, so here we go. Negative, negative 2. That's like saying the opposite of negative 2, which would give us 2 multiplied by everything else gets copied down. Negative 6 times negative 8. By the way, you would have to show the substitution. Show substitution. Okay, if you don't show the substitution, you will not get full credit. 2 multiplied by negative 6, that's negative 12. Multiplied by negative 8 gets copied down. Let's see here. Negative multiplied by a negative is a positive. 12 times 8, we get positive 96. So please make sure you're watching those signs. Make sure you're remembering that when you multiply a positive by a negative, that product is negative. When you multiply a negative by a negative, that product is also, I'm sorry, it's not also. A negative multiplied by a negative, that product is positive, right? Which is essentially what's happening here. We have negative 1 multiplied by negative 2, and negative multiplied by negative is a positive. So there you go. You would get 1 point for showing the substitution here, and you would get 1 point for showing your work and 1 point for your answer. So that would be a 3-point problem there. Let me erase a little bit. Okay. I didn't get many questions about these in class. I think you guys probably are pretty good on those. Let's scroll down here to 13 through 18. 13 through 18. I'll take a look at numbers. Let's do 13. 13. I got a couple questions on 13. So we've got M equals, okay, this is all addition, so it doesn't matter the order I add in. That's the commutative property of addition. So I'll go ahead and add these two together. 3 plus negative 11. 3 plus negative 11. Again, you could go to your number line. And we start at 3. and plus negative 11, that's moving in the negative direction. So I'm going to move this direction. I move that direction, make 11 moves, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so that's 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. So let's make that move now, starting at 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I end up here at negative 8. So we get negative 8. Another way you could have done that, you could have said which number is further from 0. Negative 11 is further from 0, so that negative is going to dominate. We know our sum is going to be negative here. How far is 3 from 11? 3 and 11 are 8 apart, so negative 8 is what we get. Negative 8 plus negative 5. All right, now a lot of people get this confused. They see a negative plus a negative, and they think they get that mixed up with their multiplication rules. And they think a negative plus a negative, that's a positive, and it's not. Again, I'll show you on the number line. I'm starting at negative 8. I'm adding to that a negative number, so I'm moving in the negative direction. So I'm going further down the number line in the negative direction. This is going to be always negative. A negative plus a negative is always going to be negative. 8 plus 5, that is 13. So we get m equals negative 13. Now, word of warning, if you don't include m in this case, or a in the case of 14, or r in the case of 15, etc., etc., if you don't include this letter here, there will not be, you will not earn full credit. So please make sure you're doing that. I've mentioned that many times in class, okay? All right, I didn't get any questions about the rest of those. I think we're doing pretty well, and you've got all the answers, of course, on your study guide here. There's probably a lot of questions on, I think you guys are good on the graph, but let me just graph a couple just to be sure. Remember, we've got quadrant 1 here, we've got quadrant 2 here, we've got quadrant 3 here, and we got quadrant 4 there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me erase those and plot a couple points. So 7, 2. This is the x direction. Remember, the x is first. The x direction is first, which is the horizontal movement. The y comes second, which is the vertical movement. So 7, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, that is positive 2 in the y direction. 1, 2. So right there, that is point, well, that is 7, 2 there. It says plot each order pair on the graph, then name the quadrant in which the point lies. That's quadrant 1. How about negative 3, negative 5? So negative 3 in the x direction, that's moving left and right. I'm moving left 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm moving down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. This is quadrant 1, 2, and 3. So that's quadrant 3 right there. Quadrant 3. How about 4, 0? 4 in the x direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 in the y direction. I'm right there on the x-axis. You can say none. I would also take it x-axis, something like that. That is not in a quadrant. None. All right. How about 6, negative 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then negative 1, negative 2. That's that point right there. 6, negative 2. That is in quadrant 4. Quadrant 4. There you go. All right, so that should be good there. I think you guys are pretty good with plotting points. All right, let's take a look at some of these. This is probably where you're having a lot of troubles, if you're having any. Let's see here. I will start with number 20. So we've got negative 8a multiplied by negative b multiplied by 3c. Okay, I want you to think about the coefficients of each of these terms. The coefficient of the a term is negative 8. Coefficient of the b term is negative 1. Coefficient of the c term is 3. I'm allowed to multiply these coefficients, okay? Addition and subtraction, that's where you have to be concerned about terms that are unable to be combined. But on 20, we can actually carry out some multiplication. So I've got a negative multiplied by a negative. So I know that product is what? A negative times a negative, positive. Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8. And then A multiplied by B. I cannot combine those. Okay, so that was negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8, and then A times B is AB. We are multiplying this by 3C. Again, I can multiply the coefficients. 8 multiplied by 3, that is 24. And then A times B times C. So 24 multiplied by A multiplied by B multiplied by C. There you go. All right, let's take a look at 23 now. 23. 11 multiplied by negative 6 divided by 3. All right, order of operations here. Order of operations, I've got multiplication, I've got division. Which one do I have to do first? Answer is it doesn't matter, except for I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, it does matter. The answer is multiplication and division. I can't decide which comes first based on that alone. I have to decide what comes first reading this left to right. So I come to the multiplication first. Then I come to the division, so I carry out the multiplication first. 11 multiplied by negative 6, that is a positive times a negative, which is negative. 11 times 6 is 66. 66 divided by 3. Negative 66 divided by 3, and I get negative 22. Negative 22 is what I get there for 23. All right, let's keep moving. On to 21. 21, do not do 21. That is not going to be on the test. That deals with something taken to the power of 2, as you'll see here. So that is not on the test. Anything taken to the power of 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. We're dealing with everything to the power of 1, so we are not working on 21. I shouldn't have included that. Sorry about that. I meant to delete it. I forgot. I think I mentioned that in class to everybody. Number 24. I can distribute this 4. 4 multiplied by 5a, that is 20a. 4 multiplied by negative 6b. All right, that's a positive 4 multiplied by a negative 6b. That is going to be a positive times a negative, which is a negative. 4 times 6 is 24b. All right, now let's look at these. Can I combine this at all? This term has an a in it. That term has a b in it. We are subtracting. All right, when you're adding or subtracting, if your variables do not match up, or if you don't have just constants, which is just a number, right, with no variable, you cannot combine this. So that is our answer right there, number 24. All right. Let's keep going. Let's skip on down here to number 25. 25, I've got negative 7x plus 8y. Are these like terms? That's got an x, that's got a y. These are not like terms. Minus 9z. Does the minus 9z match up to anything? No, it does not. Z, y, x. We have all unlike terms. This cannot be simplified. That is what we have. It's already simplified. Number 22. Negative 4 multiplied by negative 2 multiplied by negative 2 multiplied by negative 2. I'm only going to multiply one at a time here, or 2 at a time, excuse me. So negative 2 times negative 4 multiplied by negative 2. Negative times a negative is a positive 8. All right, we're going to multiply by negative 2 and multiply by negative 2. I just carry these down. 8 multiplied by negative 2, I get negative 16. Multiplied by negative 2. We've got a negative multiplied by a negative, which is going to be a positive. Negative 16 times negative 2 is positive 32. Positive 32. Very good. All right, I hope this helped. Please remember to study the following. Study your Unit 2 Quiz 1. Study your Unit 2 Quiz 2. Study the study guide and study the hula hoop activity I gave you. And whatever was on the back of the hula hoop activity, it involved division. I forget exactly what it was called, but study the OODA loop front and back. Front and back. All right. On the quizzes, please make sure you're looking up where you made errors. All right. So good luck, everybody.